All right, thank you very much. The music at the back. Thank you very much. May we please have our seats? If we can get someone to get the people that are outside to come in, please. Yeah, you can put it for the speakers. I am informed the minister is just waiting for the house to be in order so that he comes in. I'd like to ask again for someone to please tell the people that are outside to please take their seats inside. Shall we all rise? We may have our seats. Honorable Pohamba Shifeta, Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. Honorable Heather Sivungo, Deputy Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. Her Excellency Ms. Hopalang Pororo, UN Resident Coordinator in Namibia. Mr. Alex Shimwafeni, Statistician General and CEO of the Namibia Statistics Agency. Ms. Olayika Bandele, Chief of Section, Inclusive Industrialization from UNECA. Mr. Seblon Chikalu, Director of Tourism and Gaming, Ministerial of Environment and Tourism. Professor Oduga Pius, UNECA Consultant. Dr. Jeffrey Manyara, Economic Affairs Officer from UNECA. Mr. Theophilus Ngitila, Executive Director, Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. Mr. Boni Mbizo, Acting CEO, NTB. Stakeholders from different ministries, government, and other officials, invited stakeholders, members of the media. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Esther Simasiku, and I'm going to be directing the proceedings of this morning. Without further ado, we are going to stand for our anthems.
Together in unity, control.
Thank you. Standing as we are just going to observe a moment of silence. Thank you very much. We may have our seats. Good morning once again. Good morning. You can greet back. All right. Thank you very much. We are here this morning to officially launch the Namibia Tourism Satellite Account, which is the 6th edition. And without wasting time, I'm going to invite the Executive Director, Mr. Theophilus Ngitila, from the Ministry to welcome us. I see we are not welcome, that's why we are not greeting back.
Thank you very much, Director of Proceedings. A very good morning to all of you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Honorable Pohamba Sifeta, Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, Honorable Deputy Minister Hida Simbugo, Deputy Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, all members of High Table, colleagues, invited guests, let me stand by the established protocol. My name is Theophilus Ngitila. I would like to welcome you all to this very important event where we are launching long-awaited tourism satellite account. This is a very important report which will really reflect how the sector is performing, what we need to do collectively, and also what are the opportunities there. The account really accounts for everything in the industry. Honorable Minister, I just would like to share with you that tourism after COVID is probably the only industry or sector that has been recovering rapidly. The only sector that has been increasingly recovering. And this is a good news to all of us. We have seen for the past holiday season, most of our establishment has been at the occupancy rate over 50. This is remarkable, and it's something we all of us need to cherish and appreciate. However, we can do more. So we look forward to the industry that will be fully recovered this year. We look forward for the industry where major investment will be made. There is hope for the tourism in this country, and we look forward to work together with all of you, our private sector, our community-based organizations, government agencies. We all need to pull in the same direction. I look forward to work with you to undergo some reform as necessary, and also to bring some new innovation whereby we can sustain the industry and grow it bigger. Thank you very much, and I welcome all of you to this event, and we look forward to have a good interaction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and we can really tell, because Namibia is a beautiful country, beautiful landscape. Hence, we can really tell that the tourism industry is growing, and we want to take Namibia to the rest of the world so that they can come and see the beauty that we are getting. We are now going to have a presentation on the TSI methodological framework, and it's going to be done by Professor Odugo Pius, who's the consultant, as well as Dr. Jeffrey Manyara. You can come to the podium.
Good morning. Good morning once again. Your Excellency, Honorable Pohamba Shifeta, Your Excellency, Honorable Heather Sibungu, Deputy Minister for Environment, Forestry and Tourism, UN Resident Coordinator, Your Excellency, Her Excellency, Ms. Hopalang Fororo, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Here just to give a small introduction as to why we are gathered here today and why this exercise is particularly of great importance to Namibia. My name is Jeffrey Manyara, and working with our sub-regional office for Eastern Africa, and mainly working on matters to do with tourism. So basically, quickly, I'll just look at, give a brief introduction, look at what TSA can do, and look at its relationship with government strategies, and how the TSA will help in addressing most of the issues that confront development in Namibia. So, as you may know, the tourism industry is an industry that is not really tangible as such. So it's spread amongst various sectors of the economy, and it's not as such recognized explicitly in the standard industrial classification of all economic activities. And that is why when we look at tourism, it's sort of hidden within the economy. But we need to really understand in a more tangible way how tourism can contribute, what role tourism plays in our economy. It's therefore for this reason that we measure the tourism economic contribution, and one of the ways that this can be done is through the construction of tourism satellite accounts. Now, the tourism satellite accounts are basically an extraction of national accounts, and as I said, because it's embedded in various sectors, for example, transport, health, education, looking at matters to do, for example, sporting activities, recreation activities, and so forth. But we really need to look at a way of collecting all these activities that relate to tourism and put them in one basket so that we're able to understand what its true contribution is to the economy. And once we're able to do that, we're able to plan effectively for it. So what can TSA do? So the tourism satellite accounts basically can help us to understand its direct contribution to the gross domestic products, its contribution to exports. As you know, tourism is an export sector because it brings in revenues. Then we can understand how it compares with other sectors, with other economic activities or other economic sectors in terms of its contribution to the economy. We can understand how it contributes to employment, basically also looking at the characteristics of that type of employment that it generates, levels of national investments, the revenues generated, because of course government invests in this, but we also need to understand how those revenues contribute to the growth of the tourism sector, the level of consumption within the economy, and also looking at the issues relating to balance of payments. And overall, the TSA can be used to, for example, as I mentioned, to analyze in detail all aspects of demand for goods and services that may be associated with tourism within the economy. Again, here is looking at how tourism induces demand from other sectors in terms also like inducing their growth. It can be used to analyze or monitor the operational interface of supply of such goods and services within the same economy of reference, in this case Namibia. And here we're looking at aspects relating to, for example, the value chains. You know, to what extent does tourism influence other sectors, or to what extent is tourism linked with other sectors of the economy? And so basically it can be used to evaluate how supply interacts with other economic activities within the economy. So that's why it's very particularly important for us to look at the TSA. So in the case of Namibia, therefore, TSA can be used, for example, to inform government budget allocation. I think this is the biggest challenge we faced across African member states, especially when we're dealing with the tourism sector, because ministries of tourism have found it very difficult to justify why they want a certain allocation of the budgets. Now with the TSA, you have evidence in terms of what the sector can do, and then in that respect, you can actually convince the government to use it on the basis of the TSA to give a certain allocation of money, because then you'll be able to add so much money to the economy. It can be used to address socioeconomic development and priorities, provide a rationale for government support and government investment in tourism. For example, if you want to put up a road to the national park, you know, you can use the TSA to justify the investment that governments need to put in place. If you want to generate a certain number of jobs, again, the TSA can actually provide a rationale for government investment in the sector as well. It can be used to assess tourism investment needs and impacts, evaluate the impact of externalities, especially now when you're coming from the things like the COVID-19 pandemic. If you had a TSA, then you can actually more accurately assess the impacts of the COVID-19 the pandemic, and also inform government interventions that can be used to mitigate these externalities. It can be used to inform product development and marketing strategies. And I think this is particularly important, especially when you're looking at developing your sector. If, for example, you want to invest in a conference facility, the TSA can form a basis which maybe that can inform and justify investments required for such development, and also inform the marketing strategies in terms of market segmentation, or target markets that you need to target in that sense. And more importantly, it also can inform policy formulation. I think one of the things that challenges we face across Africa is the lack of data. And when it comes to policy formulation, the TSAs are proving to be a very important tool. It can provide data on visitor consumption and how it's met by domestic supply and imports. And I think one of the challenges we face in Africa is the issue of leakages. And you can only mitigate leakages if you understand where the leakages are happening. And TSAs can actually provide that particular, is an important tool for mitigating the leakages. Just to give you as an example, we've worked on TSAs, and just to say that Namibia, I think, is one of the few countries in Africa now with a TSA. I think you need to clap yourself. I think it's a very important step. And as we've seen, we've done TSAs in the most recent that was launched was Uganda last year, 2023. We've done for Zanzibar, again, launched in 2022. We've done for Rwanda. Rwanda was the first one that was launched in 2014, I think, 2015, 16. As you can see, Namibia is actually one of the very few countries that have managed to accomplish this exercise. So we did one for Kenya as well. And as you can see, on the basis of the TSA for Kenya, we were able to estimate the impacts of COVID-19 on the tourism sector. So the basis of the foundation for this was the TSA for Kenya. And they've been able to look at investments in certain activities, for example, sports tourism. And one of the things that the ministry did was to conduct a study on the impacts of hosting the World Rally Championships, and they were able to show the impacts to the economy in terms of revenue generated, jobs generated, and so forth from that particular activity. So the TSA is particularly very important in also informing some of the activities that the government may wish to do. For example, if you wish to host a major activity, for example, you're able to assess in terms of what that impact will be to the economy. So finally, just to say then, on that basis, then TSAs can be used to measure tourism yield, the profitability of the tourism, distinguish the numbers of expenditure of different tourist market segments. Again, this is very important, again, in trying to identify which particular markets are more profitable to you. It can also be used to enable, it can also enable development of performance indicators, industry productivity and profitability. And importantly, the next level, of course, will be to measure the total economic impacts of tourism. So basically what the TSA has done is to give you the direct economic impacts. But you must have a TSA to be able to understand the total economic impacts, and the TSA provides that foundation. It will also be used to assess the role of tourism in sustainable development. And I think this is why we're having the SDGs here. And in particular, I think SDG 12 Target B talks about the importance of developing tools to measure sustainable tourism. And this is a step forward for Namibia. It can be also used to enhance the role of tourism in socio-economic development and poverty reduction. So with that, I would like to hand over to my colleague, and thank you very much. Yeah.
Good morning again, sorry for that. Minister for Environment, Forestry and Tourism, UN Resident Coordinator, UN Namibia, Statistical General and Chief Executive Officer, Deputy Minister for Environment, Forestry and Tourism. I'm here to present the context in which we undertake TSA and the way forward. So TSA, as my colleague has mentioned, is part of the measurement of tourism sustainability. We all want sustainable tourism, now and in the future. How do we measure this sustainable tourism? There are three dimensions that we use, we adopt. Economic dimensions that we should look at, environmental and social. Under economic dimensions of tourism, we look at the direct contribution of tourism to the economy. We also looked at the indirect impacts of tourism to Namibia's economy, and then we can look at the induced impacts of tourism to Namibia's economy. When we add the three, the direct indirect and induced, we get the total impacts of tourism to Namibia's economy. At this juncture, we have only captured the direct contributions of tourism to Namibia's economy. And that's what's contained in our tourism satellite account, which means we can have phase 2, whereby we measure the indirect and induced so that we get the total contribution of tourism to the economy. I know some of you may have come, of course, expecting to be told the total contribution of tourism to the economy of Namibia. No, for today we are giving it the direct. And as my colleague has said, based on the satellite account, you can work out the total contributions. Without satellite, you cannot do that. Yeah? It will be the assumptions will be too many. Then after we look at the economic dimensions, we can look at the environmental ones. What are the environmental impacts of tourism to Namibia's economy? So this can come after the economic. After we have quantified, we have drawn the boundaries of tourism in Namibia's economy. We have put a finger and said, this is tourism in Namibia's economy. Then now you can quantify those, continue pursuing tourism as an economic activity. This is a diagram showing the tourism framework for sustainable development. As you can see on the left, we have the economic indicators, then we have the environmental indicators, and the social indicators. So all these have been brought together into one framework. And where are we now today? We are still under economic dimensions, and we are measuring only the direct impacts. We are not measuring the indirect and induced yet. So we have started a long journey today. With the TSA, we can go ahead and work out the total impacts of tourism in Namibia's economy, and then later on, work out the environmental impacts, including climate change and tourism. We can do all sorts of things now because we have a TSA. And then finally, the social impacts and indicators are given there in that framework. Just enumerating some of the indicators, like under economic, you'll be hearing today. This one, I'll leave it. Environmental impacts, since, for instance, the TSA will tell us the volume of transport in Namibia used by domestic and international tourists, it could give us the percentage. Once we know that, we can quantify, for instance, the emissions of such vehicles into the environment. Yeah, so that we say tourism is responsible for so much emissions or pollution of Namibia's environment, because the TSA has already marketed for us the boundaries of tourism in transport, in accommodation, in food, in culture, recreation, etc. So what are we doing today? Today, you'll be given results of the following. The direct contribution of tourism measured. They will be measured in 10 tables. And the next presentation will deal with this. Table 1, we shall tell you how much inbound tourism brought into Namibia's economy. How much did non-Namibians spend on tourism in Namibia? That's inbound, or if you want, international tourism. How much did they bring into Namibia's economy for the year 2022, from January to December? That figure is available today. 2, under TSA Table 2, we shall look at domestic tourism. We shall also give you an estimate of how much Namibians staying in Namibia spend on domestic tourism. There will be definitions of domestic tourism. We define that under TSA Technical Committee, which will be introduced to, and we were able to estimate how much Namibians spent in terms of domestic tourism within the borders of Namibia. And then table 3, you'll be told today how much Namibians spent outside Namibia economy, the rest of the world, to US, UK, Kenya, wherever they went, Japan. We have mapped all of them wherever you went. We know the volumes, we know your mean expenditure there, we know your average length of stay there. We were able to get how much you spent, Namibians, outside Namibia's economy, how much money you took to the rest of the world in terms of tourism activities, what we call outbound tourism. So we shall give you a figure for outbound tourism for the year 2022. Then we shall also give you Table 4, TSA Table 4, which will be combining TSA Table 1 and 2. Table 1 is inbound tourism, visitors outside visitors coming into Namibia, and table 2, Namibians spending within Namibia. So we add these two because this money is circulating within Namibia's economy, brought in by Namibians, by definition of country of residence, and then Namibians within the borders of Namibia. So this is what we shall call internal tourism expenditure. And this figure will be given today, internal tourism expenditure. That's inbound tourism expenditure plus domestic tourism expenditure. We shall get inbound tourism expenditure. And still on table 4, you'll get a very important variable here, internal tourism consumption. We have also estimated, in case you're a domestic tourist and you visit one of you within Namibia, but you don't pay for accommodation and food, we are able to quantify how much we think you spend. So we shall add to internal tourism expenditure, we shall add this component of expenditure, and we get internal tourism consumption. Then we have TSA table 5. This is a supply side. Table 1, 2, 3, 4, we're dealing with tourism demand. Table 5, we deal with tourism supply. Who is producing goods and services consumed by inbound tourists and domestic tourists? Who is producing this? Accommodation, food, etc. There are 10 typical tourism consumptive products. Without tourism, those farms, industries, companies will not operate as they do. So we mapped up the suppliers, and we know how much they produced in the economy for the year 2022. That is, for instance, in terms of accommodation, how much was produced for accommodation for the year 2022 in the entire Namibian economy. And we were able to get the percentage that goes domestic and inbound tourism. Not all accommodation services are consumed by tourists. There's a percentage. What we shall be calling tourism ratios, you'll be given that as we proceed. It's the same for transport, recreation, leisure. We acknowledge that not all these are consumed by domestic and inbound tourism. There's a percentage that's consumed there. So, table 5, we shall be telling you about tourism supply. And this one is coming from your national accounts. That's why national accounts people are well represented here in the technical committee for the last 2 years we have been together. Then TSA table 6, the most important table here, which is going to give us many of the indicators that we are looking forward to, is the domestic and supply consumption, reconciling demand and supply, so that we are able to say tourism contributes so much to GDP. Table 6, we managed to extract that very important information. How much does tourism contribute to GDP in terms of direct contribution? Yeah, remember today is direct. We're not talking of total. Then table 7, we continued, and we looked at the suppliers, how much goods they produce and invested, what we are calling gross fixed capital information, which is us in TSA table 8. Table 8, we shall tell you how much was invested in Namibian economy, and what percent of that investment or gross fixed capital formation was attributable to tourism. Without tourism, there wouldn't have been that investment or gross fixed capital formation. Particularly, you can see the hotels coming up, etc., that are used basically by tourists. So in table 8, we shall give you the gross fixed capital formation and tourism contribution to that process. Then table 9, we shall give you the collective consumption of tourism. That means, particularly by the government at different levels, we shall tell you how much this government spends in terms of collective consumption. That means producing public goods and services, goods that are used, services that are used communally. You cannot use them individually, like security provided here. It's security for all of us, whether you are tourists or not. So we are able to estimate how much goes to tourism here. Then, lastly, TSA table 10, that you've given in this family of tables. The table 1 to 9, they have been measuring monetary indicators of tourism. In table 10, we shall give you a presentation on non-monetary indicators of tourism. Like how many rooms do we have? How many beds do we have in the country? What is the occupancy rates of beds and rooms, etc. And also to do with employment. So this is the family of 10 tables that we presented in terms of actual estimations already made by the TSA Technical Committee for Namibia. The composition, you'll be told, the membership. But of course, it's spread across statistics, tourism itself, central bank, etc. Now, I talked of total impact. That's the phase 2. If we continue this project, we shall be interested in total impact of tourism. Here, we shall be able to use the TSA outputs, information from TSA table 1 to 10, enter it, use it as a basis to calculate the total impacts of tourism on Namibia's economy. So this one, we do it in phase 2. Countries that have done phase 2, Rwanda has already done its phase 2. Kenya has already done its phase 2. So we hope Namibia will be the third one. Here, we shall be using your input-output table. We also, if you don't have, then some countries that don't have, we go and use their social accounting matrices, SAMs. And some countries already have computable general equilibrium models that you can use to calculate the total impacts of tourism to GDP, total contribution of tourism to employment, total contribution of tourism to investment, total contribution of tourism to collective consumption. So this, we shall get it in phase 2. Then lastly, after this TSA, there are more extensions we can make apart from phase 2. We can also use this TSA to come up with regional satellite accounts, regional tourism satellite accounts. For instance, we may be interested in the circuit around Atlantic Ocean, the tourism activities there. So we can come up with a regional satellite account specifically for that circuit around the Atlantic Ocean, for instance, or around some mountain. So this is possible if from the national TSA, you can make regional TSAs, depending on your circuits in the country and their relevance, and maybe the necessity to know how much they really contribute to the economy in terms of tourism activities. We are also able to calculate the culture satellite accounts. Culture, you remember, is one of the products, culture and sports. So we are able to remove that from TSA and calculate its contribution to GDP, employment, foreign exchange earnings, government revenue, etc. So that's culture and sports satellite accounts. The manuals are available. Then we can also do the aviation satellite account. Remember, most of our international tours come by air. So we may want to know, maybe Air Namibia, they may want to know how much they contribute to GDP, to employment, to foreign exchange earnings, to government revenue. So with the TSA, they can extract the aviation component and recalculate the aviation contribution to these variables, macroeconomic variables. So there are many other things you can do when you have a TSA. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much. I guess we now understand why we are here, right? Do we? I think with that introduction, we really understand. And I think it's a very good tool to really see how our tourism sector is, and I'm excited to see what the results are. I think while we are still trying to internalize what we heard, we'll just break for an entertainment. You know, the youth is the future. I can see the young ones are ready to render us an item. We'll just have a moment of entertainment before we continue. Thank you.
Electa Benirico. Electa Benirico. Kala. Okala.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I like the previous presenters who said tourism has a ripple effect on a lot of things, right? And that's just one of them, you know? People can come to Namibia and see our instruments, you know, they are made from natural resources from Namibia. So it's very interesting. All right, so we'll continue with our program. Next on our program, we'll have an overview of the findings. I think everyone is waiting for this to understand what is it that we found out from our undertaking, and it's going to be done by Mr. Should we maybe give people time to calm down? Okay. We are going to have Mr. Seblon Chikalu, excuse me, who's the Director of Tourism and Gaming from the Ministry of Environment. Mr. Seblon. It's very funny, I was talking to him and I didn't even know it was him, so. At least now I know your name.
Yeah, I think I will have to wait for my principals before we start. So I don't know whether there is something you can do. Just 1 minute, they will be here. Somebody here technical to come and assist me? Where is my presentation? If you can just put it up. This one? No, it's not that one. Which one? Yeah. Hello, sorry. Does this work? Hmm? This is going down, and this is forward. I think in the meantime, you can say hello to the person next to you. And tell them tourism is a lifestyle, is a lifeline. Oh. Yeah, I think the SG is telling me you did not greet them. You're only greeting among yourselves. You didn't say hello to the high table. Okay. Just gonna run through. Yeah, it's fine. I think we let the Mariba go too quickly, too fast. Okay, they come in. Yeah, so Director of Ceremonies, thank you also for the break that you provided, because I felt as if I'm going to the business school speaking after the two professors of universities. Thank you, Honorable Minister, Honorable Wamba Shifeta, our Minister responsible for Environment, Forestry and Tourism, our Honorable Bungo, responsible as the Deputy Minister for Environment, Forestry and Tourism, Statistician General, CEO of Namibia Statistics Agency, UN Resident Coordinator, Ms. Faroro, Chief of Section, Ms. Olainka Bandela, and the two professors, Professor Pais, Professor Manyara. I stand by the protocol as established by the Director of Ceremonies. I just want to continue. I want to bore you a bit with some figures, but don't mind too much. If you can't get them here, they are fully represented in the report. So I'm just highlighting, so I'm not going to read every bullet point as you may see it on the table. Right, so we do the overview, we will do the rationale for this project, and I think part of that has been covered by Professor Pais and Professor Manyara. Data sources, which sources were used to just get this data. Then the account tables, which has been introduced by Professor Pais, and then we do the conclusion thereof. All right, the TSA framework for Namibia is based on the new, I call it on the new framework that has been introduced to us or to all the member states of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, now anyway reforming into a UN tourism. That's the methodology we're using. So you may find some issues when you look at the TSA of 2015 and this one. The only difference is, for example, is the methodology. We are using a new framework to just account for the tourism contribution to the GDP. Well, there was a national steering or national technical steering committee that are seated here. Can we just see your hands? You did a great job, and we want to applaud for you quickly. The National Technical Committee, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? All right. Now, this team has been empowered to continue even without the two professors that were present here. That's the empowerment process as well. But again, as we do in other processes, we want them to be around the professors to just guide if we go into phase 2 and so on and so on, until we are at that level that Namibia can do it by ourselves or by itself. This committee consisted of the following: MEFT ourselves, Bank of Namibia, FENATA, that's a private sector, apex body, Namibia Investment Promotes Development Board, Namibia Airports Company, the University of Namibia, Namibia University of Science and Technology, International University of Management, Namibia Tourism Board, Ministry of Home Affairs, Immigration, Safety and Security, Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Finance, and then Namibia Statistics Agency. The first scoping mission was conducted in February 2022, and then the project was launched by the minister. The deputy minister was present, representing him on 19th May 2022. I think it was here as well, or somewhere. Then the induction workshop took place between 20 to 25 of May, And then the first TSA workshop took place between 1 to 5 August of that year. The rationale really, it is a statistical framework used to analyze the economic contribution of tourism to a country or region. It has been said, it helps us to systematically measure the impact of tourism on the economy by providing detailed information on the various components of tourism expenditure, employment, and other relevant indicators. Of course, it allows us the comprehensive analysis of the economic impact of tourism, which has been done said. I just want to jump over to data sources. And it's important really, and I'm excited, one of those that are excited that we are launching these, because we cannot continue to be using old data, that's 2015, as our source documents for making decisions, for our advice to our principals. So I think this is a milestone for the sector as well. The data sources used, we used MEFT Tourist Statistical Report of 2022 to make it recent and current. We have used the inbound and outbound tourism expenditure survey 2022, which we carried out, and part of this exercise. We have used the 2018 labor force survey. We have used the 2015 domestic tourism expenditure survey, and then we've used the MERA statistics from UNWTO for Namibia for 2021. We've used the balance of payment from Bank of Namibia for 2022, and we've used the annual national accounts 2022 from NSA. All right, so then I'm just gonna go into details in terms of the tables as had been presented here. So table 1 is basically inbound tourism, and these are the number of visitors that Namibia welcomed, which is 527,610. And that's how much they spent into the economy. And then out of those, 421,000 were categorized as being on holiday and leisure or recreation, which then contributed to about 81%, which is about 12 billion of the overall inbound expenditure to the total, your total direct contribution to, of course, your GDP. So in visitors in the categories of friends and relatives accounted about 1 billion, and that's 7%. And those that were on business and trips in transit, they spent almost close to 1 billion, which is 932 million, and 145.8 million respectively under table 4, we getting there. So this is the value that tourism then has contributed in terms of then inbound tourism. Then there is a table for domestic tourism. Don't want to bother you with this one. There is a note there. Okay, so overnight visitors made 4.7 million trips. And this is how detailed, how I like tourism satellite account, because it gives you even trips that were undertaken. So 4.7 million trips, and 2.6 of those were made up by the same day visitors. Of course, this was based on the expenditure and overnight visitors category. And then your overnight visitors for your domestic spending, they spend 2.1 billion on the category of food and beverage services. And the least spending was on cultural services. Well, that's already an opportunity for Namibia to really pick up the cultural services aspect, which is meaning let's introduce cultural products into the tourism economy or into the national economy, and then let's market them. Because that part of the industry under tourism was the least that contributed to what we're giving you now, which is 12.8 million. And the same day visitors spend most of the expenditure on other consumptions, which recorded 1.4 billion. And then the category of other consumptions, which included gifts and other things, clothes, medical expenses, and others, and all the shopping as well. That's under the other consumption categories. The domestic tourism aspect of outbound tourism resulted in a total of expenditure of 1.7 billion, and the majority of these were spent on accommodation services. And then the list thereof is the transport services, followed with 0.4 billion of the total expenditure. Table 3 speaks about, these are the MERA statistics that we got, that In 2021, there's estimates that there were 271,751 outbound visitors that left Namibia and went somewhere to spend money. Okay, and the majority of those travelers, which is the Namibians that traveled outside, was for business-related trips, representing 34.5%. And this category was followed by travelers to visit friends and relatives, which is 24%, and then a small share of that outbound visitor travel for other personal reasons, such as education and health-related reasons, which is about 18%, which is 17.8%. Then the table 3, of course, fed by table 16 in the document, focuses on outbound tourism, expenditure by product and classes of visitors. So over 2.6 billion was spent on outbound tourism, which is about 1.4 of that was spent on accommodation services, and then 269 million was on food and beverage services. Internal tourism consumption estimated to have contributed to the economy about 25.5 billion, which is a 26% spend on transport services and accommodation services and food as well, with those percentages different. 2.6 was 26.2 on transport services, no, 25.9%, accommodation 25.9%, and then food and beverage, which is 17.2%, which is 4.3 billion. The domestic tourists consumed about 12.6 billion, representing 49.4% of the total internal consumption. And then the consumption by inbound tourists was estimated at 12.4 billion, which accounts for almost 49% of the total internal consumption. So the other component of tourism consumption is estimated to be at 538.9 million. Table 5, which is the tourism supply. This is to capture the production of products by tourism, which has the tourism characteristics, industries, as we say, and then the input, which is the intermediate consumption that goes into the production process. There's national accounts, of course, gives information on output about this, and this output, therefore, is broken down in products and is valued at the basic prices. Of course, at intermediate consumption is valued at purchasers' prices. And the difference between the two values is then called the gross value added at the basic price. That's how we came over there. Let me just skip over here. And then, of course, the production accounts demonstrate output at basic prices, intermediate consumption value added for each tourism-specific industry. The values are computed on the system of national accounts of 2008, and also the industry are classified that we have used according to International Standard of Industrial Classification, which is a revision 4. And while the products were classified using the Central Product Classification, which is under revision 2. Of course, tourism does not form as a separate industry in the International Standard of Industrial Classification. But however, this tourism industry and products are highlighted and extracted using this tourism satellite account, okay, as per recommended methodological framework of 2008. So table 5, again, there are figures here. I've put a summary next. It is the total output at basic prices for tourism-related industries is estimated at 73.2 billion of the total output using your basic prices to the overall economy, and which of accommodation accounted for 14 billion, representing 19.2%. Transport services estimated to be 10.9 billion, 14.9, almost 15%, while the food and beverage services is estimated to be 4.6 billion, which is 6.3%. And other consumptive products contributed about 50 0.5%, of course, with the overall domestic supply. And the list under this category is the travel agencies and other reservation services, as followed by the transport equipment rental services that contribute to less than 1% and 1.5% respectively. So this is the total output of the overall economy that stood at 314 billion, of course at basic prices, and then the intermediate consumption at 124.1 billion, resulting in a value added of almost 190 billion Namibian dollars. Okay, so the table continues, but it's all summarized on that page. So the reconciliation of demand and supply, of course, derived from the table 4 and 5. And then table 6, the reconciliation thereof, I hope we can read this. In terms of during this year, which is our referral year, 2002, it's estimated that the tourism direct contribution to GDP was estimated to be that percentage, and in the monetary value, that amount by the tourism sector. And then the tourism direct gross value added was estimated at 13.2 billion in 2022. And then these are the categories. These are then the categories of the product of the tourism industries with or products, tourism products over here. I don't want to bore you with this one. And then we continue with the figures, but then we've just summarized it in that table. So we switch over to extension of the basic TSA with the table 7, which speaks about employment in tourism industries. So total establishment in the tourism-related industries were estimated to be approximately 17,082, which accounts for about 28% of all establishment. That from table 24, they are all in the report. And the accommodation services for visitors had the most tourist establishment, which is 10,365, and that employed about 27,244 persons. The total direct employment by tourist-related industries was this much, 57,571, translated in 7.9% of the total employment under the table 22, which you also see there. Okay, so therefore, the tourism contributes 14.5% of total employment in Namibia, which is 7.9%. These are only direct contribution. So the contribution of tourism, if we were to continue to compute the second phase, which is indirect contribution, I think the numbers, Honorable Minister, will be much more. And I just want to speak about I think it's Uganda, Prof. We're following that after their TSA, Honorable Minister. The Minister was then equipped to go back to the colleagues in Treasury of Finance and also to Cabinet and say, give me more money, I'll bring you more employment, I'll bring you more sustainable development through tourism. So we hope as well, Honorable Minister, that we now, I know you ask me over time and you ask the ED, we give you figures, and we are happy now, ED. I think you are also equally happy that we can give our Minister relevant and up-to-date information so that then he'll be able to use it in Cabinet to say this is the contribution of tourism. But this is just the direct. So indirect will be much more, even maybe double of this amount. So we hope that we'll get some funding somewhere so that we can continue with the indirect so that then we can quantify the total contribution, both indirect and both direct and indirect, to the national GDP or national account, so to speak. Then, okay, so then the last slide, but the bullet point. The accommodation services for visitors has the most direct employment. That's accommodation services, all right, which is about 49.2 or almost like 50%. The food and beverage services, 30.4%, and then your travel agency and other reservation industries for the least direct employment of 0.3%, less than 1%. Contribution to the total employment as well. So I think here we can see which of the industries really gives us what. Food gives us a lot of work, not food, but accommodation, but then we can do more with the food and beverage. Unfortunately, my colleague, the acting CEO, we don't regulate the restaurants. Are we? We don't yet. So you can see now that perhaps if we can move to such a way, I'm just mentioning the things we can guide in terms of investment in that particular industry in the tourism, so that then it can contribute much more, and so forth and so on. Of course, the travel agency we regulate. Right, so the total direct informal employment is at 63.9, almost 64%, compared to the national informal employment of the 58%, or which is 57.7%. And the accommodation services for visitors accounted for, the highest was 33.7 or 34 of the direct informal employment in tourism-related industries. And then accommodation services for visitors has the most tourist establishment again, which are the numbers I've read earlier, which is 10.3, 10,365, and then they employed about 27,244 persons. Employment as well, so these are just the tables of what we read. So in the tourism sector, there were 17,082 establishments in the tourism-related industries. Again, I think from the Namibia Tourism Board and where we sit and everyone else, we can now say, not only use the 5,000 data we have listed, but there are other industries, maybe they are not registered, that are also related to tourism that we need data from so that we can measure. So those are the establishments that has a bearing on tourism. So they are much more than the figures that we have somewhere on our list, if I remember very well. And employed persons amounted to 49.1%, which is that amount of tourism-related jobs. Of tourism-related jobs. Okay, which now we assume that then the tourism-related jobs, with assumption that the number of jobs are equal to the persons employed. That's an assumption under this conclusion here. And the table is there. The tourism gross fixed capital formation, this is your non-tourism specific fixed assets, were estimated at 132, which is almost 134 million. Translating into a 33% of the total gross fixed capital formation for your tourism-related industries. And your direct contribution of the tourism to the gross fixed capital formation was, or is, estimated to be 400 million, representing 1.3% of the overall total fixed capital formation of that amount, 29.1 billion. Here we continue. The total collective consumption was at 25.8 billion, of which the 447 million was consumed by tourists. Therefore, the percentage share of tourism in the total collective consumption in Namibia was at 1.7%. The non-monetary indicators, inbound tourists, inbound visitors, it's made up of overnight visitors, same-night visitors. And in 2022, that was the number which contained in the statistics that the ministry has produced, while the same-day visitors made up of that amount to totaling to 527,610 visitors. That's the 2022 statistics anyway. And then the number of nights were obtained by multiplying the number of overnight visitors by the average length of stay, which is also a good indicator which we have in our statistics. And then the length of stay figure or amount was calculated based on the survey result from inbound visitors at 8 main points of entry into Namibia. So we carried out a physical survey in October 2022, and this is where the source of that information is. And the domestic visitors, so out of the amount of trips, which is 7,246,256 trips, taken by the domestic visitors, in that year, about 4.6 of those were overnight trips, while 2.5 or 2.6 of those million trips are for the same day visitors. And the number of nights were obtained by the number of overnight trips taken and multiplied by the average length of stay, which we also have. Okay. This is again the table thereof. We just did the summary. All right, then on the non-monetary indicators, on the air transport remains the most preferred mode of travel by inbound visitors to Namibia. So out of the 5,187 same-day visitors, which is excursions, about 4.7 of this made use of air transport, while only about 472 made use of land transport. So the same trend is observed for the overnight visitors. Out of the 522,000 visitors to Namibia, about 314 of those made use of air transport, and while 207,000 made use of land transport. In the contrast, the outbound same-day visitors had a different, about 3,140 in favor of land travel as compared to air travel. So on the other hand, there were 257 or 258,000 overnight outbound visitors, and about that amount made use of air travel. And then only 158,000 made use of land travel. Table 10 speaks about the types and capacity of accommodation as derived from the Hospitality Association of Namibia registered members for the year 2022. And again, Gita, my colleague, this is how important it is for your statistics that you give us, and also for your members to continue to give you statistics. It forms part of the source for computing the data that we are doing. Thank you so much as well for that. The registered accommodation establishment were to 2,656, total capacity of 1 million rooms, and then 2,000,000.1 beds in, of course, in overall in total. The utilization thereof were 448,000, and while the beds capacity utilization amounted to 784,000 of those. Non-monetary indicators, I just want to conclude here. The rest, this table we have already summarized. Of course, the report provides an assessment of the contribution of tourism to the economy of Namibia using the UNWTO Tourism Satellite Account methodology. The 10 tables that Prof spoke about were systematically constructed using both primary and secondary information to come up with what we're presenting today. And then the tables, we spoke about them already, which is then table 1, inbound tourism, and the activities of non-resident visitors in Namibia, and then the categorization of visitors, whether overnight and same day, and then in total, the inbound overnight visitors spent so much, 12.2 billion, the same day spent 144 million, and in total, it gives you an overall expenditure of inbound tourism of 12.4 billion during 2022. And then table 2 focused on categories of tourism expenditure that were obtained from domestic visitors through the Domestic Tourism Expenditure Survey of 2015. And that's, again, the last one was carried out by Namibia Tourism Board. I think it's also an appropriate time that my colleague, the acting CEO as well, that we now find some money somewhere in the coming years that we do a fully domestic tourism expenditure survey again, just to update that as well, as a call for all of us as well, because it's important we continue to use it in accounting for tourism. Then the table 3, table 4, I think this one we've spoken already. I just want to run to this are already done. And I want to stand here to conclude and say, thank you so much to Namibia Statistics Agency, Statistician General, and the CEO, and the entire team. I understand you've gone a step ahead, Statistician General. Thank you for that. I was informed that you've already created a desk of 2 people that are looking at the Namibia Tourism Satellite Account. Can we just applaud them as well? So going forward, Professor Pies have mentioned a few things, and I want to conclude with those. That this should not be the end to my seniors, my executive director, that this is just a step, one step towards the whole journey. Therefore, we need systems. One of them is a system that can empower us, both NSA and our researcher and our statistician, to be able to do this, not to wait for 10 years or 9 years, but then they can do it every year or every other year. Honorable Minister, this is doable. Softwares are there available. It's up to us as administrators to find money somewhere so that then we have the system, then NSA can do that. Every year or every second year or so, they can give us the proper, comprehensive report on tourism contribution to the GDP. There also another system, I think it's important, and I'm mentioning this because this will enable us, and I'm speaking from the background that I know how tedious this was. Professors, you know very well, UNECA, Olainka, you were here. The committee, you know how tedious it was to obtain data. Wamburu, you know very well how we had to struggle to get data. And that is because lack of systems. Things are just apart. They are in silos, they're somewhere, but we needed to synchronize them. But if we have a software by NSA, if we give them the support, they can synchronize that data and will not have to wait so long to produce this particular report. So equally, there's a tourism information management system, and my executive director speaks about them. It's also important because those will form part of the sources of data as well, and we need to find the necessary funding as well to be able to do that. So this is just the beginning, and also to re-emphasize there are gaps that have been identified. One gap is culture, services, of course with sport, if you combine it in that order, and the rest of the other things that we can do with the report. Really, I want to say thank you for your attention, and that we can now, I can now yield my time to the Director of Ceremonies. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and I think he deserves another round of applause. Thank you. I could see my colleague Nelson was interested in the domestic tourism. He has been trying to encourage Namibians, with the 50% off from NWR. So I think we have a good audience here from now onwards. I'm told there is some lunch. Let's just know each other. From which organization are you from? How can we come in? The director is giving hints to the minister on how to get more money. But I guess we can get money from this room. Thank you very much. And to proceed with our program, we are now going to ask Ms. Olainke. I like your name. Very nice name. Olainke Bandele. She's a Chief of Section Inclusive Industrialization from UNECA. She's going to give us some remarks.
I wanted to keep the sign up because it looks so beautiful facing you. Good morning, everybody. Again, I'll start with the salutations. Honourable Minister for the Ministry of Forestry, Environment and Tourism, Honourable Pahamba Shifeta, Honourable Deputy Minister, the Honourable Heather Sibongo, Statistician General and CEO of Namibia Statistics Agency, Mr. Alex Shimafeni, Your Excellency Resident Coordinator of UN Namibia, Ms. Hopelang Pororo, and also recognizing the Executive Director of the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism as well, Tefrius Natitia. Colleagues of the United Nations system in the room, invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to start, first of all, by apologizing that my director wasn't able to be with you today. She very much wanted to come. She was set to come, but unfortunately, she's unwell. And so I'm standing before you to give remarks on her behalf. So it gives me great pleasure to participate in the launch of the Namibia's Tourism Satellite Account 6th edition report. I'd like to start by first, please accept our sincere condolences during this time. May the soul of His Excellency Hage Geingob rest in eternal peace. I think it stands to the strength of the institutions of Namibia that we've been able to go ahead and launch this TSA report as an important document for the country. This report comprehensively uses the desired UNWTO methodology, which has already been spoken to measure the direct economic impacts of the tourism sector. As ECA, we are honored to have partnered with the Ministry and the Namibia Bureau of Statistics in the development of the TSA, which ultimately will reinforce efforts in estimating tourism's contribution to the Namibian economy. I think special mention goes to our ECA Regional Office for East Africa, Dr. Jeffrey Manyara and the consultant, Professor Piers Odongo, who led on the technical work, and also the UN Resident Coordinator's Office and UNESCO for the commitment in partnering with us on this great initiative to support the government of Namibia's ambition to accelerate sustainable development of the tourism sector. Honourable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to just point to a few factors as we are here launching the Namibia Tourism Satellite Account report. As has already been spoken to, this process started back as early as 2021, when the government made a request to ECA to provide financial and technical assistance in enhancing Namibia's tourism statistics collection and analysis to support policy design and development in the sector. I think, strictly speaking, the work was influenced by an earlier initiative of UNESCO, which supported the government and stakeholders to build its sustainable heritage tourism and develop a strategy which, in the process, identified that there was an absence of data, tourism data, which could be used to inform policy and investment in the sector. And I think this is really important. I'm going to come back to that point a little later. We at ECA see this timeline as quite special because for us it speaks to the strength of one UN, where the work of one party through the Resident Coordinator's Office can leverage in resources to support government. And so we see that working very well, not just with tourism, but also in other sectors of the economy like trade and industry, for example. So suffice to say, of course, we stepped into the request. We were happy to step into the request. And this has been a 2-year journey then, because that first scoping mission was 2022 February, and we're now launching. So it seems quite auspicious. So this launch is a landmark occasion, not only to celebrate the achievement of you, the tourism stakeholders, and specifically the officials who worked under the leadership of the Ministry and the NSA with technical guidance from ECA to develop this TSA, but also marks an elevation of the rigor and depth of tourism data collection in Namibia. And I think we wouldn't be able to stand here and report back to you the contents of the report without that technical commitment from the officers within the steering committee. It's you that have produced this data. We're presenting it, but it's actually those officials that worked to come up with the data that we're now sharing with you. Specifically, I would just highlight 3 areas. My colleague, Dr. Manyara, went through a list right at the beginning of his presentation, and so I won't go through that level of detail, but there were 3 things that stick out for us. as we look at what has been produced within the report. So firstly, of course, supporting the collection of systematic, accurate and timeless data provides that mechanism for comprehensive set of tourism statistics outside the conventional national accounting framework. Secondly, quantifying tourism's contribution to employment and the national GDP is critical, and I think you saw that emphasis from Mr. Sebelon Chikalu. It's an important emphasis in terms of youth employment, but also women's employment and the entire sector. So that's very, very important. And thirdly, I think it demonstrates the size and significance of the tourism sector to the economy, to the country, and internationally, and that helps to support effective policy making, and most importantly, garner in public and private investment into the sector. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is incontrovertible that the tourism sector is cardinal to the development and growth of the Namibian economy, as we've seen from the data that has been shared just previously through Mr. Chikalu. These figures speak to the strength and the increasing potential of the sector for the country's sustainable growth, as tourism methodologies and empirical research points to the indirect multiplier effect of the tourism sector. Some global researchers note contributions of up to 0.4 times the amount of direct jobs, and that potentially means that for every 10 jobs that are produced directly within the sector, an additional 4 jobs are created indirectly through other sectors, such as transport, logistics, construction, arts, and entertainment, as we've spoken to previously. In addition, we must be cognizant of the importance of the tourism sector for employment and income generation for women and youth, and as a source of economic diversification, particularly in rural areas. So, ladies and gentlemen, we all know that the TSA process is a complex one. It requires that collaborative approach, bringing together key stakeholders and institutions for a functional TSA. And this initiative for Namibia's TSA has thus established this National TSA Technical Steering Committee, which you've heard us speak to, comprising of membership from across a range of stakeholders, which I won't go through again because we already have an idea of who those are from the previous presentation. I think the point that I want to make is that this committee is a very crucial process in garnering a comprehensive and representative TSA framework that reflects the diversity of Namibia's tourism sector. And ECA's technical support to the government of Namibia has been delivered through a process of capacity building workshops to build the capacity of that steering technical committee. I just want to move on to close on a few remarks, Honourable Minister and ladies and gentlemen. And I think it's with reference to the AFCFTA and its importance for tourism development. In aligning Namibia's tourism sector with the AFCFTA, it seems there's an opportunity for an acceleration of trade in tourism services, as it accounts for most AFCFTA state parties' trade in services. Recently, there was a decision at the Assembly of the African Union in which 22 countries, including Namibia, have agreed to liberalize their tourism market. So 22 countries out of 55 are liberalizing their tourism market. What does that mean for Namibia? Why is that significant? Well, you know, being leaders in this sector, that tourism investors, service providers, suppliers, and tourism companies within Namibia will be able to access these other African markets with less restrictions and develop trade operations within these 22 nations through cross-border supply of tourism services, the establishment of commercial presence tourism companies, and the movement of tourism professionals based on the liberalisation committed to by the concerned countries who are state parties to the agreement. Furthermore, African countries who fully ratify the treaty protocol on the free movement of persons, such as Rwanda did recently, and Kenya, and a handful of others, the free movement of people supports regional integration and increases opportunities for the exploration of each other's cultural and tourism products. This is internal African tourism. It's also imperative to note that countries like Namibia have prioritized service sectors like tourism for liberalization based on what you recognize as your local capacity and are able to supply services competitively. You prove that day in and day out. So this is a widening window of opportunity for Namibia, which has great, unique tourism products. I say that every time because it's, you know, you have a beautiful country. And these unique products, now with the robust data that backs it up, informs investment decisions. So in conclusion, at ECA, I am sure I speak for all of our UN partner agencies where we see that real sustainability is built into the process of delivering the TSA using the methodology, the WTO methodology, and anchored on the TSA steering committee framework. So I can't emphasize enough how important this organ is and its maintenance for future development processes. You've invested your time, energy, and resources in the enhancement of the technical skills of your talented staff, many of whom I hope will remain available to play their role in future data collection and analysis processes. And it's for this very reason that ECA's approach to delivering technical support is centered on raising capacity of technical officers. You did the work, and you will be able to continue to contribute to that process. So I think we would just want to concentrate on the fact that we know that tourism development in Namibia is such an important sector because it also informs development of or jobs within the informal sector, and it supports tens of thousands of jobs in that sector as well. With these few remarks, thank you all for your attendance to this auspicious occasion of the launch of the TSA account, and thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much for the assistance that you keep on giving to Namibia. I think I would also want to acknowledge our executive and the economic statistics, Mr. Abel Sindano. He's one person that says, no, we have been doing things like this, now we are moving forward. So thank you very much, Mr. Sindano, for putting NSA on the map, Mr. Wamburu and team. Thank you. And with that said, I'm proudly inviting my Statistician General and CEO to please come and give his remarks.
Thank you, Esther, the Director of Ceremony, and maybe thank you so much actually for being flexible and had to stand in at a very short notice. Personally appreciate that. Honorable Peamba Shifeta, Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. Honorable Heather Sivungo, Deputy Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. Her Excellency Ms. Hopolong Fororo, UN Resident Coordinator for UN Namibia. Allow me to stand on the protocol that was established. Esteemed ladies and gentlemen, today I'm pleased to announce the official release of the Tourism Satellite Account, TSA 2022. I take pride in this report as it demonstrates our joint effort between various institutions of government and all involved in the space of tourism who came together to compile the Tourism Satellite Account 2022. Join me therefore to applaud this huge successful endeavor, and that is collaboration will continue moving forward. Tourism Satellite Accounts provide an internationally recognized and standardized method of assessing the scale of tourism-related production and its links across different sectors of the economy. The current TSA compilation followed the United Nations World Tourism Organization methodologies, as it was earlier mentioned, which is harmonized with the system of national accounts compilation methodology. The primary objective of this TSA was to establish the direct economic contribution of tourism to Namibia's economy. Hence, the TSA is the authoritative source of the direct contribution of tourism demand to national economies. In addition, the secondary objectives were to estimate tourism demand and tourism supply, assess value added by tourism activities in the economy, establish the level of employment generated by tourism activities, measure the gross fixed capital formation or investment by the sector, and measure the collective consumption of tourism services by the government. Based on the findings of the population of this publication, during the year 2022, tourism activities accounted for 6.9% of the GDP. In monetary terms, we will say this sector, the tourism sector, was estimated at 14.3 billion Namibia dollars. The report further indicates that tourism is a notable employer in the Namibian economy, being responsible for 57,571 direct employments, and this was also coming from the slides of Mr. Chital when he was presenting. During 2022, the gross fixed capital formation in tourism was estimated at 401 million Namibia dollars, representing a 1.3% of overall gross fixed capital formation in 2022. Moreover, tourism collective consumption, which considers the tourism goods and services mainly provided by the government, was estimated at 447 million, which represented a 1.7% direct contribution of tourism to collective consumption at national level in 2021-2022 financial year. In conclusion, the Namibia Statistics Agency, NSA, together with the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, would like to appreciate all stakeholders that supported the compilation of this TSA report for 2022. My sincere gratitude goes to the United Nations Commission for Africa, UNECA, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, and UN Namibia for their support. Furthermore, I wish to thank the Technical Working Committee that produced this report. The NSA welcomes constructive comments from stakeholders that aim at strengthening the systems for data production and development of this product. I want to emphasize constructive comments because I know to come up with something is something very difficult, but to comment on it might be the easiest. So just appreciate the work and give us constructive comments. I would love to encourage our readers and users of this report to share any comments that can enhance statistical production and contribute to the improvement of future publications. With that, I thank you.
Thank you very much, SG. That was short, not as short as I am, but yeah. Thank you for the remarks and emphasizing the constructive contributions. I am now going to invite Her Excellency Ms. Hopalang Fororo, who's the UN Resident Coordinator in Namibia, to give her remarks.
Good morning to all of you, and thank you, Director of Ceremonies. Honorable Pohamba Shifeta, Minister for Environment, Forestry and Tourism. Honorable Heather Sibungu, Deputy Minister for Environment, Forestry and Tourism. Mr. Alex Shimufeni, Statistician General. Mr. Bonventure Bizo, Acting CEO of the Namibian Tourism Board. Ms. Olayinke Bandele, my sister, Chief of Section Inclusive Industrialization, UNECA, senior government officials, members of the private sector, academia, and civil society, my UN colleagues, members of the media. It is a pleasure for me to be standing here this morning to represent and speak on behalf of the United Nations system in Namibia and celebrate with you on this joyous occasion at this launch of the Namibia Tourism Satellite Account. This is a milestone, and it is an illustration of the government's leading role in steering her development path and owning the process to understand the landscape, seek out multi-sectoral or multi-stakeholder resources, undertake the situation analysis, and pave the way for implementation through an evidence base, jointly together with development partners. An event of this magnitude is good for the tourism development and destination marketing, helping to contribute to a transformative pathway for the benefit of the people of Namibia. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am inclined to remind us of the genesis of the work. They say that sometimes we need to look back in order to appreciate where we are going. This work was born out of our first-hand witnessing of the socio-economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic that was raving Namibia's tourism sector. The industry was losing an estimated 3.2 billion Namibian dollars, or around US dollars 220 million, and jobs were being lost due to the severe disruptions. As support to the Republic of Namibia, the United Nations in Namibia then formulated a socio-economic recovery plan with an immediate socio-economic response to COVID-19 with a strong outcome aiming at or to develop a tourism sector rebuilding strategy and provide support for its recovery. The main goal was to find ways to stimulate domestic tourism and somehow to reduce the sector's dependence on income from foreign tourism. But we must maximize all opportunities. Since then, we have faced simultaneous crises, including the Russia-Ukraine war, inflation, and we are still grappling with sustained recovery towards economic transformation. Yet Namibia remains among the few African nations that acknowledge the importance of the tourism sector to inclusive growth. This is in line with today's TSA's launch theme of estimating Namibia's contribution to the economy of Namibia, which could not have come at a better time than now, when many African nations are striving to diversify from the historically extractives-oriented industries and environmental hazardous means of production to more value-oriented sectors, including tourism, which have a multiplier effect on the development of the country's value chain. Ladies and gentlemen, the results of the TSA will have far-reaching implications. The launch today underscores Namibia's commitment to harnessing the full potential of its tourism sector by adopting internationally recognized of tourism while minimizing its negative externalities. Tourism is not merely about travel and leisure. It is a powerful force for economic growth, job creation, cultural exchange, and environmental conservation. The TSA is an indispensable element in Namibia's data and information ecosystem, serving the economy and public with data about the socio-economic and cultural contribution of the sector. As I have continued to express in various fora, we are lagging behind in the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals for the 2030 agenda. We are here at midpoint, and yet we already know that also we have a lot of, or let me say we have a distance to go before we can say we have achieved the SDGs. But as we may already know, the tourism sector has the potential to contribute directly or indirectly to all of the SDGs. In particular, it has been included as a target or targets in Goal 8 on inclusive and sustainable economic growth, Goal 12 on sustainable consumption and production, and on Goal 14 on the sustainable use of oceans and marine resources. Honorable Minister, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, now we have the evidence. So I would really like to encourage us to look keenly into this report for updated data, including on GDP contribution and employment, among others. The TSA should serve as a valuable tool for policymakers, researchers, and stakeholders to monitor trends, identify opportunities, address challenges in the tourism sector, and provide valuable insights into the sector's overall contribution to Namibia's GDP. As a way forward, the findings of the TSA should feed seamlessly into the 6th National Development Plan, helping to inform opportunities for economic diversification and job creation. Working along with the government of the Republic of Namibia and her people, the UN in Namibia is currently developing its UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework that will spell out our joint actions to accelerate the SDGs throughout the period of 2025 to 2029. The UN SDCF will reaffirm the commitment of the United Nations system in Namibia to continue evidence-based advocacy, policy engagement, partnership, program implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. My sincere hope is that through partnerships, implementation of recommendations in the TSA will contribute to moving the needle towards the achievement of the country's Vision 2030. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish to congratulate the team for showcasing coordination in action, underpinned by the commitment of the TSA Technical Committee. I see government, I see the private sector, I see academia. Let us also crowd in CSOs as well. Through strategic direction and coordination that started in my office, the United Nations Resident Coordinator Office in Namibia, Namibia's TSA has also brought about expertise and financial resources from various UN agencies. I am especially grateful to UNECA for having heeded our call for support and for having been the technical and financial lead on this highly complex and rigorous process. Colleagues, your dedication, commitment, guidance, and support have been central to the success we are enjoying today. I recognize the origin of the TSA methodology from UNWTO and UNDP's financial support towards this project, UNESCO's effortless advocacy for this project in the UNCT towards the implementation of the government-owned National Strategy on Sustainable Heritage Tourism Development and Employment Creation Opportunities at Community Level 2020 to 2030 cannot be overemphasized. Clearly, results-oriented coordination is possible if we put our minds and energies to it. I would like to commend the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism for efforts towards this endeavor. May this initiative serve as a beacon of inspiration and innovation for the global tourism community, demonstrating the immense potential of tourism as a driver of sustainable development and positive change in our communities and in society. Once again, I congratulate all of us on the achievement of this major milestone, and I thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, and really for pointing out that we now have the tool to enhance our tourism sector. As we prepare for the keynote, we are going to have another performance by our group. Thereafter, we will go through the keynote and the launch. Thank you for that rendition. I think this is the moment we have all been waiting for. Everyone wants to know what is in the report. We have seen just a bit of it through the presentation by the director. At this moment, I am going to invite the executive director to introduce the next speaker.
Thank you very much, Director of Proceeding. This is really the moment we are all waiting for. Our main speaker this morning is one of the most dedicated, committed person to the industry, that is the tourism. Is one of the pioneers when it comes to youth development in this country. He has been at the forefront of youth development since early 80s. I remember when I was at Oshigambo High School, he came to our school. We were in a hostel at that time. He was propagating politics of students, or student politics that time, as president of NANSO. From there, he never wavered until today, when he left the Ministry of Youth, coming to the Ministry of Environment and Tourism. He really ensured that we empower the youth in this to take part in the sector. Today, we are seeing evolution in terms of participation in the tourism industry. Not only from tour guide, but we are talking of active participation ranging from handing to concessions and owning a lodge. This person is none than our Honorable Minister, Poamba Sifeta. I now have a pleasure to invite him to the podium. Honorable Poamba.
Thank you very much, ED, and also thank you, Director of Ceremonies. Please, can we get seated, those who can? Honorable Hida Sibungo, Deputy Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, Your Excellency, Ms. Hopalang Baroro, a UN Resident Coordinator, Namibia, Mr. Theophilus Ngitila, Executive Director of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Tourism, Mr. Alex Mwafeni, Statistician General, and also CEO of Namibia Statistics Agency. All executive directors present here from various ministries, Mr. Ben Boni Binjo, Acting Chief Executive Officer of Namibia Tourism Board, Ms. Oleinka Pantele, Chief of the Inclusive Industrialization Section, UNECA Sub-Regional Office for Southern Africa, representatives from various ministries, NGOs, and support agencies, representatives from different sectors or sector associations or forums in the tourism industry. Distinguished invited guests, as per your titles and the respective qualities, esteemed members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, and a very good morning to all. As we all know by now that a dark cloud has befallen upon Namibia. We have lost our president, which has touched us all in Namibia and beyond. Therefore, in remembrance of our president, our departed beloved president, let us observe a moment of silence. Please stand up. May his soul rest in eternal life. Thank you. Get seated, please. Director of Ceremonies, I stand here today, this morning, to mark the launch of the much-awaited 6th edition of Namibia's Tourism Statistics Satellite Account Report 2022. This important occasion denotes a significant milestone and achievement of national efforts to comprehensively measure and understand the economic impact of tourism on the overall Namibian economy. The Tourism Satellite Account is one of the main tools for economic measurement of tourism, which compiles and presents information about the participation of the tourism sector in the national economy. This tourism is not just about travel and leisure, but the sector is a vital economic driver of the Namibian economy that contributes significantly to the national gross domestic product through job and employment creation, foreign currency earnings, skills development, and overall economic and social development. Namibia TSA is based on a framework development and it was developed by the United Nations World Tourism Organizations. The implementation of this TSA is incurred under Strategic Intervention 4 of Namibia's Tourism Sector Recovery Plan 2022-2024, which aims to increase tourism market intelligence through statistics and data collection. The finalization of the 6th edition of TSA takes us closer to achieving the above goals and objectives. The development of Namibia's TSA framework and its implementation provides integrated, comprehensive data on tourism-related activities, expenditures, and employment. This accounting framework allows us to gain a holistic understanding of the sector's contribution to our economy, but will also increase and improve knowledge of tourism's importance in relation to overall economic activities in a given country. It also provide a coherent and a credible set of tourism accounts that can also be compared internationally across countries. It also gives quantity estimates of tourism value added and thus analyze the importance of tourism in the economy. It identifies employment generation in the tourism industry and the role tourism plays in job creation for different types of workers. It creates awareness of the economic importance of this activity among players directly and indirectly involved in tourism, and extend the role of tourism in all industries involved in producing the goods and the services demanded by our visitors. Director of Ceremonies, Your Excellencies, the TSA capacity building project was launched on May 19, 2022, and today we are here to witness the outcome of the project. As per the key findings that it stated in the report, during 2022, tourism's direct contribution to GDP was estimated at about 7%. In monetary terms, the tourism sector is estimated at 14.3 billion Namibian dollars of the total GDP, which is of 206.2 billion Namibian dollars. This contribution by the tourism sector is commendable considering the negative impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the tourism sector globally in 2020 and 2021, respectively. It was scientifically established through this process that tourism benefits more other sectors and industries. With the launch of this report, policymakers, industry stakeholders, researchers, and the public at large will now have access to robust data that can guide strategic planning and policy formulation in a sector. The wealth of information contained in this report empowers us to identify trends, assess the effectiveness of marketing initiatives, and tailor our offering to meet evolving consumer preferences. Moreover, it facilitates evidence-based decision-making that supports sustainable development while maximizing the socio-economic benefits derived from tourism. In addition, the TSA enhances transparency by providing clear insight into the economic flows associated with tourism. This transparency not only benefits public and private sector entities, but also instills confidence in our investors and the potential investors, demonstrating the tangible value of tourism as a driver of economic growth. I therefore emphasize the importance of cementing collaboration among government agencies, the private sector, academic institutions, and by at large, all tourism stakeholders. By working together to collect and analyze data through this standardized framework, we can collectively advance our understanding of tourism's multifaceted impact, and also work towards sustainable development goals for tourism and further boost our industry. Director of Ceremonies, I would like to take this opportunity to appreciate the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA, and in particular, I would like to thank Professor Pius Odunga, the consultant for offering financial technical assistance to Namibia that led to the production of this very report. I would equally extend my sincere gratitude to the National TSA Steering Committee under the able directorship of our Director of Tourism and Gaming, Mr. Chikalu, Namibia Statistics Agency, the Bank of Namibia, and the many ministries, agencies, and their staff that were involved in the compilation of this sector report. I want to thank you all for your precious input, experts, and dedication, and also the support you render that you have provided in reaching this final stage. In conclusion, I want to extend my appreciation to all of you for your presence this morning here. And it is now my singular honor to officially launch the 6th edition of Namibia's Tourism Satellite Account Report 2022. I would like to sincerely thank all of you for being here and for your attention. Can I do here? Please step down. I now have to go to the practical matter, the practical part of this matter. Okay. We are now here to launch this tourism satellite account 2022, officially opened, launched. Thank you. This is the report. For those who have not seen it, this report, some of you have seen it before. Without data, you hardly make informed decisions. So this is the report. It looks beautiful. The cover looks beautiful. The content also looks beautiful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now you can ask for that report. It's officially launched. I stand to be guided here. I see on the program we are supposed to hand out certificates to the TSA committee members.
No, he's around. Paulus Mwitunyenena. Paulus, where are you? Beum Yoba. Okay. Phineas Kamati, where's the team? Come walk through. We're young. Titus Kamatuka. Okay, this one. Kamati. All right, so we'll go there through. Titus Kamatuka, where are you? I saw him here. Josephina Guyepo. Mika Mnepapa. Matthews Lazarus. Yeah. Mika, yes, thank you. We will give it to you. Mateus Lazarus. Okay, ED. Matilda Tomwa. Okay. Jonah Aita. LM Kimaro. Ellen Kimaro, not here. You are not take it. Okay. Dr. Simon Chinsi. Dr. Simon. Renates Neema. Renates. Liena Ndengu. Moses Itilasha. Liefa Munashimwe. Yeah, there. Yeah, Moses Itilasha is not here.
Congratulations.
That's Liefa, eh? This is hers. Okay. Delphine Ilunga. Fina Elao. Fina Nkandi. Fina Elao and Fina Nkandi. Okay, it's not here. Geraldine Chavara, are you here? Okay. Titus Kamatuka, quickly. Yeah. All right. So, and this one is Moses Itilasha is not here. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Congratulations.
No.
Thank you. Okay.
So that we can identify you and we are looking for you tomorrow. Come and help us in the next day. Yeah, bring your certificates, you post, and then we'll have a picture of photos for record purposes. Please, quickly, in 1 minute. I think in front. Yeah, just there. At least I'll join us when we are ready. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We were talking about capacity building. The people are capacitated, yeah? Yes, so we know there is going to be phase 2. The minister is going to get money for phase 2. The capacity is there. Thank you very much. We are now going to go to our program, and I'm going to invite the Deputy Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, Honorable Heather Sivungo, to come and give the closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremony. Whoever switched on this aircon will never enter heaven. We are smiling here and we are freezing. Was it done deliberately? Director of Ceremonies, Honorable Minister for Environment, Forestry and Tourism, Honorable Boamba Shifeta. There are unique names here. I'll stand by the protocol already established. On behalf of the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to you, all of you, for creating a slot in your busy schedule to join us today at the launch of the 6th edition of Tourism Satellite Account Report 2022 for Namibia. Given unprecedented time in which we find ourselves, accurate, timely, relevant, and reliable data becomes ever more important for us to keep pace with digital transformation, adoption of new technologies and systems, keeping up with global competition and trends in travel. With this, have one more very important planning tool today, which will help us along all spectrums, government, development partners, and the private sector in order to assess the impact of our actions and craft new strategies based on the information presented in this document. Ladies and gentlemen, there are several ways to increase tourism's contribution to the country's economy. However, first and foremost, one needs to attract more tourists to visit your destination, and secondly, pursue tourists to spend a while visiting the country. These goals require innovation in policy and strategic interventions, which will be able to be supported by the implementation of the Tourism Satellite Account project. I must admit, it wasn't easy to get to this, and I know the certificate that you received meant a lot to us. If I was one of those, I could have surrendered. The Namibia Tourism Satellite Account report for 2022 is a result of the dedicated efforts and commitment of the National Tourism Statistics Satellite Account Technical Steering Committee that comprise of various institutions such as Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Labor, Namibia Statistics Agency, Bank of Namibia, Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board, Namibia Tourism Board, Federation of Namibian Tourism Association, University of Namibia, NAST, University of Science and Technology, IUM, Namibia Airports Company. I wouldn't want to go much in detail. As I was freezing, Minister also thanked you, but let me just do a bit small. The Director of Tourism and Gaming, under the capable leadership of Director Mr. Zebulon Chikalu, spearheaded and coordinated the Tourism Satellite Account project. The development process was technically supported by Prof. Pius Udunga with the assistance of Dr. Geoffrey Manyara from UNECA, while the direct supervision was led by Ms. Olaika Bandele and Ms. Veronica Mufudze from UNECA. The ministry treasures your passion, hard work, and dedication, which led to the accomplishment of this report and the overall skills and transfer that took place. Finally, I would like to thank the private sector for standing by the government and providing pivotal support needed across all sectors, more so in sustainable tourism development. I can assure you that the commitment remains from the Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, Honorable Pohamba Shifeta, and yours truly, Heather Sibungo, the Deputy Minister, that will continue creating a positive investment and business climate for the private sector to thrive, while we always promoting a private sector-led development process. Having said that, I continue to be inspired by the hard work and dedication by the ministerial staff members who, by all means, be it through collaboration with various stakeholders or utilization of limited resources, produce results and save the Namibian nation. Your hard work and passion does not go unnoticed. I would like to end with these remarks by once again thanking you all for your attendance. I thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sivungo, for those warm remarks. Despite the cold, it's actually very cold from here, so. I'd like to invite the House to please rise for the national anthems.
Of
seated. Thank you very much for your attention, your attendance, your participation. I think we now have a tool that we can plan with. I see on the program there should be a photo session. I'm not sure who's organizing that and where will it be.